Hi guys, this is IYRE, and you're tuning into BSA Radio episode 3. Huge shout outs to Winslow for having me for this episode, and I thought of shifting things around for this episode, and I'm planning to talk about how drum and bass and obviously jungle was introduced to this region of the world, to South Asia, which consists of a set of countries such as India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on. I'm going to shed some light in terms of how the genre was introduced, how popular it got, the people who worked tirelessly behind the scene to make this genre to what it is today in the region. And joining with me for this episode would be my good friend Sagar Deshmukh, which I thought was the best person to have on this episode. So let's have a look. So hey you guys, like I told you before, so welcome to the BSA radio episode 3, Bats and Anonymous. Today we are going to shed some light about the introduction of drum and bass into the South Asian region, which basically consists of a cluster of countries such as India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on. So I'm joined today by my friend Sagar Deshmukh, because I feel as if he's the perfect person to talk this through, as he has been involved in the scene for quite some time, and he has been a writer for Drum and Bass India, and now he's a writer for Ticket Fairy as well. So I felt as if he's the most suitable person to talk about how the drum and bass genre was introduced to the South Asian region. So let's dive into it. And as you can see, we are joining to you live from the sunny beaches in South Asia. In virtual spirit though, because I'm under lockdown as of now, and obviously India is just now opening up the country after a long period of lockdown as well. So we're joining to from the beach in spirit. Hopefully some of you guys may even be able to travel to India and Sri Lanka. So hopeful for that as well. And let's dive into it. Let's talk this through. So Sagar, just want to know the basic introduction, of drum and bass and jungle elements to the South Asian region.
So how jungle and drum and bass traveled to India were through how the scene was built from the days when breakbeat hardcore was in full flow in the UK.
Yeah.
When the aim and break traveled from the USA to the UK, and it started its integration into the breakbeat hardcore sound. Eventually, it moved on to the jungle sound, and the aesthetic was drum and bass.
Yeah.
That's when a lot of people who were attending these gigs were Indians and people who belong to the Indian subcontinent, like people from Bangladesh, people from Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and that's when the Bollywood scene, or rather the Punjabi scene, was quite strong amongst the Indians, and a lot of people were trying to mix ideas. A lot of people were trying to blend a lot of sounds together. That's when a lot of the Punjabi music that's still very big in the UK.
So I'm assuming this is the Desi scene that we have
absolutely
in Europe, is it?
Yeah, not the Desi scene per se.
Okay,
but it's basically how people got the UKG elements together, got the breakbeat elements together, and infused it with flavors of the of the Indian subcontinent.
Nice.
That's how it began.
Nice.
And it started with guys like Nitin Shawnee, Talveen Singh. There was Shade of Bengal. God bless that man. He was an incredible artist. And
I think out of the artists that you mentioned, Talveen Singh is pretty close to my heart as well, because I've been following him for quite some time, and I feel as if he's a brilliant artist. In terms of merging most of the dub elements with South Asian elements, I thought that was very genius. It's not it's not the typical dubstep sound that you hear right now. It's the pure dubstep, the liquidish dubstep sound that was originated from UK. So I feel as if Talvin Singh is pretty close to my heart as well. And I was just blocking your story. So let's keep continuing.
So like you mentioned, Talvin Singh, like you must have heard the track Butterfly. So you notice how the liquid elements have come together with the classical Indian sounds or the classical, the traditional sounds of India. So how they have just beautifully merged together. And that's Talvin Singh also has a compilation that he had done where he had artists like Usmani Sounds. He had artists. So there was a compilation called as Anokha, the Sounds of the Asian Underground, and tracks like Flight IC408, Chittagong Chill. There was Distant God by Talvin Singh. There was A.R. Rahman. I'm sorry, Mumbai. A.R. Rahman was a part of it as well.
Holy shit!
Yes, absolutely. So the name of the track is.
I didn't know about this, so you might need to send me a few links about this album as well.
So the name of the track is Mumbai Theme Tune. And
Mumbai Theme Tune. I'm going to write it down right now. Mumbai Theme Tune.
And there were guys like Usmani Sounds who was a part of, who is a part of Nasha Experience. I'm sorry. There was Equal Eye.
I'm assuming that we're going to speak about Nasha Experience as we progress in this conversation as well. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, because they've been so pivotal to how the Asian underground sound has progressed over the years. And so guys like Talvin Singh, Midival Punditz, or even and Nitin Chawni, how can I miss that name? Nitin Chawni, they were important. They were just they built the scene. That's how it began. Because when the sounds were merging between jungle, drum and bass, and there were because drum and bass was steadily taking influences from other genres and building its own unique sound, and that's when people like Talvin Singh, Midival Punditz, State of Bengal, Tabla Beat Science, all these guys, Nasha Experience, Bobby Friction, who's been so pivotal to how big the scene is in the UK. Asian Dub Foundation.
I think Bobby is still very active with his BBC Asian Network show as well.
And he's just done so many. He's promoted so many artists from South Asia and people and the South Asian artists that the UK had to offer. So he's done a great job as well. And what happened in 1995 was A.R. Rahman, the great Indian composer. He somehow nobody noticed it for a long period of time until the genre actually landed into India. And what we realize is his movie, the movie that he gave his music for, Rangila, there's a track in it called Mangta Hai Kya. And Mangta Hai Kya is a track from 1995. And that had breakbeat and jungle elements. So, which is also an example of how far A.R. Rahman was from the rest of the producers in the country in terms of his sound, and how big his influences were. That the genre in the UK had just started hitting radio waves, and it was just starting to build its own identity or its own scene. And A.R. Rahman managed to pick it up from there and use it in Bollywood. So that was the first.
There's quite a lot of songs that A.R. Rahman has used breakbeat influences. In particular scenario, the song comes to my mind, Mukkala Mukabala.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that is one of the most famous songs in Sri Lanka as well, because it's really catchy. And then obviously the music video has pretty crazy dancing moves to breakbeat as well. So you guys might want to check out this song as well. I'm gonna paste a link in the description as well. And I feel as if that song in particular had more breakbeat elements than the rest of the songs put together, because it was very, very noticeable in terms of how it was sounding at that time. he's just been an amazing producer. I mean, obviously, like you told, he was way ahead of his time. Even now, he's way ahead of his time. And in terms of his composition and in terms of collating his ideas, I don't know where he gets these ideas from. Because obviously, us being producers, me being producers, there's always an inspiration. But this man doesn't seem to gather inspiration from certain place. But we are actively gathering inspiration from him. So I feel as if A.R. Rahman definitely had a major part in bringing the breakbeat sound to the Bollywood and the Hollywood movies. Because obviously, movies are one of the major ways that music travels around in this region as well. Because obviously, there's a huge fan base for Bollywood and Hollywood movies, even in Sri Lanka, even in Pakistan, even in Bangladesh, even in other regional countries as well. So I feel as if that was one of the biggest moves in terms of making the breakbeat and the jungle and the drum and bass sound commercial and accessible for most of us. I'm pretty sure that most of the people weren't aware that it was breakbeat, but now that we think of it, that was breakbeat, and that was breakbeat done really good.
Exactly, and that was way back in 1995 when the drum and bass sound was, or the jungle and drum and bass sound was quite was new to the world.
Exactly, and I'm assuming that there were producers who used techno and electronic elements in India way before that as well.
Absolutely. So a lot of people don't know this, but a man produced a techno track back in 1982 and did not know about it until recently.
So he may have made a song, but apparently he didn't know that it was techno. And now that we think of it, holy shit, that was techno.
Exactly. And we were, and even I came to know very recently about it, probably a few years ago. And I was blown away. I could not imagine that there was a techno track that was made in India in 1982. And
I'm assuming it was the artist is called Raga Bhairav.
Absolutely. I was just looking for his name.
He's Raga Bhairav in 1982. So this guy has made a song, and apparently it was techno in 1982, but nobody knew about it. And now that we think of it, so he's one of the key people to make start techno in the world movement. So just want to shed some light to you guys that we've always had prolific electronic musicians in the region, but I feel as if some of us, I mean, some in certain instances, I feel as if we were kind of excluded from the global scene. Obviously, with regard due to reasons such as internet not being used at that time, and there was a lot of distance from Europe to India, and so on and so forth. So basically, feel as if we've always had our touches in electronic music. Going back to the topic, so we were talking about flashes of jungle and breakbeat being used on Bollywood and Hollywood movies. So I feel as if there was another track. I can't remember the name of the track, but I'm pretty sure it was from one of the Amir Khan movies, Talash.
Jia Lage, yes.
Jia Lage.
Right, exactly. Yes.
So that song is pretty famous. That song is pretty famous as well. I feel as if that's a proper drum and bass track.
Yeah, that's the most ideal example of jungle drum and bass, and that pulsating coming together.
Yeah, it's the arm and break pretty much. He's arm. He's cutting it out left and right. So I feel as if that's a good example of drum and bass being used in the bigger stage, because obviously Hollywood and the Bollywood are the bigger stage of art in terms of artistry and art in the region. So I feel as if that's a really good touch by using drum and bass in a Bollywood movie. So obviously going to paste the link on the description for that song as well. So yeah, let's move on.
So a lot of people again might not know about this. A lot of people will know of some tracks, but the disco scene, which India had borrowed influences from, was also quite big, and it still belted in some of the biggest clubs in Europe. Guys like Papon and the famous voice of Parvati Khan, who was I'm sure a lot of people must have heard this track, Jimmy, 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 Aja, Aja, Aja.
Mm-hmm.
It's a track that's gone viral since the time it was released. Yeah,
Jimmy,
and
Jimmy,
exactly.
I heard it.
It's a classic track, and Papon was the king of disco back then.
Nice.
And he would take influences from a lot of African producers like Morikante. There's this track from the movie Agnipath where he had taken Morikante's Yeke Yeke samples, and there was another track by Morikante called as Tamma. I'm not sure if it's Tamma Tamma or if it's Tamma, but he had taken inspiration from that, influences from those, and he had made his own track. So as people from the Indian subcontinent, we were always there in terms of how our music progressed, but is that it just never reached the people because, again, like the internet or just the reach wasn't there in terms of how.
I'm pretty sure if internet was what it is today, there wouldn't have been a gap in terms of the reach of music, because obviously back in the day it was basically we picked music basically from the radio or from applications such as LimeWire also. So exactly, it was difficult back in the day.
It was difficult back in the day.
Accessibility, because obviously we don't have vinyl stores or CD stores selling drum and bass records in this region. So I feel as if now that we have internet, there's opportunity for most of the South Asian producers to work with UK and Europe and US. So which is, I feel as if an amazing opportunity for artists that are from the region as well.
And talking about vinyl stores also, so people will find vinyl stores in some corner of a busy and packed market in the city. So there's a vinyl store in Delhi. There are a couple of them in Mumbai, but they will all have these classic collections where so many legends have gone there, picked up these classic Indian disco sounds, disco songs, or these classical Indian songs, and picked up vinyls from there. So there is a cultural significance there. But it's the prominence of vinyl stores here and the vinyl culture is not as much as it was in the in Europe back then, and how the culture exists even to this day. But so our source of music was getting it from websites like LimeWire, and that's how we used to listen to music. Because, and basically, I got introduced to.
Basically, it was piracy, but then again, it was what it was because due to the situation that we had to undergo. So, but now, I mean, obviously with the internet and Spotify and everything else being online, we have accessibility and we have the opportunity to share our music with the world as well. So I think we pretty much covered about the introduction of drum and bass into the South Asian region, and we also spoke about using drum and bass and jungle and breakbeat in obviously Bollywood music and Bollywood movies and Kollywood movies as well. And we spoke about a few artists such as A.R. Rahman, but in particular, I feel as if we should speak about Nasha Experience.
Absolutely, because they were so important. I remember speaking with Usmani Sound from the Nasha Experience, and how he described so passionately about his love for drum and bass and how they managed to infuse the contemporary sounds back then, the contemporary drum and bass sounds, or the drum and bass or dubstep sounds back then with Indian music, and came up with the Nasha Experience crew, and how it traveled to India. And that was the moment when it actually traveled to India. 1998, there were these guys who were, I'll just get their names. They were doing some gigs here in India, and the guys like Mr. T, Insat, Kunal Rawat, Master Jasti, and DJ Pai Saab. These were the guys who were running this running this thing called as Bhavishyavani Bhavishyavani Future Sounds, or it was called Bhavishyavani back then. And they bonded over their love from Asian underground, and that's where some of these gigs which were doing just Bollywood or the sounds that were prevalent back then started doing drum and bass. And that was back in 1998. So that's how early the scene came into the country, and they were the first ones to bring the sound to the country.
And listening to Nasha Experience, I feel as if they were very successful in terms of using samples from the region, specifically from movies, from Bollywood and Collywood movies, and from older East Asian compositions using Eastern music. So I felt as if they were geniuses in terms of sampling these sounds and incorporating them to a proper drum and bass tune.
Yeah, because the thing with Nasha Experience is they are people from 3 different parts of the Indian subcontinent.
Okay.
They come Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India. Okay. So imagine like these, such powerful influences coming together and converging into the drum and bass sound.
And there's a lot of inspiration coming from these countries as well, because there's subtle differences from with regards to music in all these regions. Because Pakistani music is a little bit different to what it is in India, and India obviously is the birthplace of all these influences. But then again, when you move to Bangladesh, it's a very different scene in Bangladesh as well. So all these influences getting together would obviously create a meteoric value in terms of how the songs are going to sound.
Exactly. And Nasha Experience, some of their tracks like So Gaye Hai or Harappa, there was a track with this artist Swati Natekar, which was this pulsating drum and bass track, and it was on her euphoric vocals. Their music is breathtaking. Their recent EP was the Kufi EP that they haven't. Yeah. If you want to check out their latest music, they have their EP released on their Bandcamp page. It's called as Kufi, Kufiq. Yeah, and it's the representation of their sound, which they've been carrying and pushing and pioneering for all these years. Again, they have another label called as 100 Colors Music, where they operate as individual artists, and that's where you will find some incredible music produced by these guys.
Yeah, I think you introduced me to Barasingha as well. I felt as if he's amazing. I felt as if he deserves to be in a bigger label. I mean,
absolutely,
because of the sheer quality of his music, and it sounds very modern as well in terms of how liquid drum and bass is pursued in terms of a modern condition. I felt as if his music is really polished to the modern sound. So I feel as if he should be signed to a major label.
Yeah, because you notice his sound has those drum and bass jungle elements, but it has the deep and meditative narrative to his music, which comes from the Indian subcontinent. So and it's crazy how he brings all these experiences together and cultivates such a natural and such a unique sound it's just so his track Time and Again, should listen to it. It just brings so many influences together, and every time you listen to Barasingha, you'll realize that he's just a breathtaking artist. And then so there's New Flow from the Nasha Experience, there's Usmani Sound, there's Shandy, all these guys. I grew up, listening to these guys when I was introduced to them by a friend, and who's now a prominent drum bass DJ in the country, who is Sound Avtar, and he was the one who introduced me to Nasha Experience, and that's when I fell in love. And I heard that track, Project 808, and it I was blown away. I'd never heard something like it before.
Shouts to Sound Avtar as well if you're watching. So he's a really talented electronic artist from the region, making nice moves as we speak. So shouts to him as well. I think we should speak about the modern electronic artists from the region as well while we progress into the conversation. But just shouts to Sound Avtar. And in terms of another artist that comes to my mind would be Nitin Shoni. I feel as if we should speak more about Nitin as well, because I feel as if, from what you told me, I feel as if he's one of the major influencers that got drum and bass to arrive into the podium of what it is right now.
Right, exactly. And his album Beyond Skin just changed how the UK perceived Asian underground, or the UK perceived people from, or British Asians, how they perceived music that was produced by British Asians.
Yeah,
it was just breathtaking, and just to get a feel of what the track Nadia means to people. Just Google Nadia on
by Nitin Shoni.
By Nitin Shoni, or just search.
Yeah, we can drop the link on description as well.
Yes, and listen to how. Obviously, you will be. I don't doubt that you will be absolutely blown away when you listen to the track. But what it will also do is it will open up a totally new world. And when I say that, just go and read the comments. Because for me, and I've said this like way too many times, YouTube is the closest thing that we will come to as a time machine. Because it has just brought so many things together, and that's exactly what I feel every time I listen to music that comes from the 70s, 80s. Like I love African music, and then again, like I mentioned, Morikante. Now, Morikante was this amazing producer, a Guinean producer, a singer. I'm sorry, and he was incredible. So how these sounds have come together in the Indian scene, and how the drum and bass also came together over here. And Nitin Shoni, for example, you just read the comments and you'll realize the emotional value of this particular track, Nadia. This album was absolutely amazing. He recently came out with an album, I think in 2020, if I'm not wrong.
So he's based on UK, if I'm correct, right?
He's
from England.
Yes, absolutely.
He lives in England.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
He was even born in the UK. He was born in London.
So obviously he's exposed to the electronic scene in London, and obviously, so he basically learned from the best place he can possibly learn in terms of exposure and experience. So yeah.
And he has done compilations with Fabric Live, which is
nice.
Because I grew up knowing Fabric Live as the mecca of drum and bass. Yeah. That's how I knew, because obviously since the internet came to us quite late. I mean, we were exposed. It came to us very, very late, and I get like it's just friendly banter, but people who are my friends who are like 18 to 22-year-olds, and how I get called as someone who comes from that age. That's how it was. That internet came to us very late, and we were exposed to a lot of the music that we listened to probably by the end of the 2000s era, because that's when the rock culture, or the punk rock culture, or the hip hop scene is huge in the country right now.
Yeah. Yes.
But that's when we were introduced to a lot of the music that we listen to now. But coming back.
In terms of Sri Lanka, though, I think you were talking about that. Obviously, internet being a part of the music culture in the early 2000s, but for us, it was after 2010s. That we got proper internet to utilize for music and all these purposes, and even in my case, So obviously I started making music in early 2010s, and I was exposed to a lot of electronic music after 2010, and it took me 6 years after Pendulum disbanded the first time to find Pendulum in the first place. So it was in 2006, and those guys disbanded in 2010 after they released Immersion. So I mean, just by that experience, I feel as if you guys can understand how late we were in terms of getting exposed to some of the global phenomenon. But it was what it is. It's not the same in terms of accessibility to most of the rest of the world. Obviously, due to various conditions, it could be either due to political issues, or it could be either due to technological issues as we speak. Exactly. Because obviously, if you are speaking in terms of a political situation, I mean, just look at what's going on in Afghanistan. I mean, the Taliban are basically destroying the instruments that have been used by the musicians and the basically witch hunting musicians right now. So in terms of accessibility, I feel as if we should shed some light that it's not the same for some of us in terms of accessibility. And so basically, if you are in a position that you have major accessibility to music, just be blessed at what you have right now, and just make use of the opportunity and just go for it. Because I mean, with what we're seeing right now in the world, and especially in terms of what we're experiencing in the Afghanistan region, so I feel as if we are really blessed to be in this position to talk about drum and bass and all these genres right now through the internet. So yeah, right. Just me going outside the topic, absolutely. But yeah.
No, you're right actually, because when I heard Kino's music and when I heard Viney's music, who were a part of med school music before, I'll be very honest, I would be envious. I mean, them getting exposure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a connectivity issue, but yeah, screw that. That's what it is in this region. Get used to it. Yeah.
So coming back to how I would be envious of how I was exposed to music so late, since I started exploring music, and to have Kino making such incredible, Viney making such incredible music. Just a couple of names from a plethora of talent, very young talent in the UK.
Yeah.
And I would feel, why didn't it come here? I mean, if I probably got exposed to drum and bass probably back in the day, because I was always a fan of pulsating music, and I'm using this word a lot because that's exactly how I like my music. I want that energy to it, and that's exactly how I fell in love with drum and bass. I was listening to trance before, because trance was one of the first genres probably that came to India, because trance the trance scene was prominent back then, in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. It still is in Europe, but it's not as much as it was back, because we had guys like Armin van Buuren regularly touring India.
Nice.
We had festivals like Sunburn, who were constantly and regularly bringing trance artists from Europe and the North America. So I would always feel, maybe if I got exposed to drum and bass a little earlier, it would have been great.
I feel the same. I share the sentiment with you. I didn't know the existence of drum and bass in the first place when I was in school. I didn't know about drum and bass until 2016. And probably the introduction of Pendulum changed my life forever. But yeah, I'm not ashamed to admit it either. I didn't know about.
No, absolutely.
I didn't know about the genre.
What was the first track that you liked, and on the track that got you into drum and bass?
Pendulum Witchcraft.
Oh, okay.
That was the first track that I heard.
The track that really got me into drum and bass was Netsky's Endless Search.
Okay.
I don't know. There's something about that track. it was beautiful. It had the euphorics that I always look into my music.
Yeah.
And it just had everything that I was looking for. Because yes, again, trance, and then to make that move, because I don't know, it was just natural how I moved to drum and bass. I attended a gig, and yes, that was it. That night changed my life.
Yeah.
And I started exploring all these artists. Started with Netsky, of course. Cam and Crooked happened. After that, Andy C, Goldie, and then I started digging deeper and deeper and deeper. Then the underground side of drum and bass, I was exposed to that eventually. And then I got a chance to cover it as well as a writer. Shouts to the Music Essentials here, because they were the ones who gave me the opportunity to cover drum and bass. When nobody was doing it, to be honest, it was there were a very few websites doing it, but it wasn't as frequent as it should have been. Because when we talk about drum and bass here, that's the problem here. When we talk about drum and bass here, I've always said it to a lot of people who I've spoken with. And I think we also had that conversation when we were just like randomly talking about drum and bass, how it is in this part of the world, that it gets a very special attention. So when we say that it's a drum and bass gig, oh, it's a drum and bass gig, I have to be there. But when you tell the person for the second time, he may not. Like, okay, yeah, I've attended a drum and bass gig, and that's enough. And yeah, so that's been the problem. So there's always been a push and pull relationship with drum and bass. It had to be pushed. It had to be. There were little to no modes to promote drum and bass in the country. When obviously the sound did travel, and it was just starting to build in the country. Midival Punditz, who I believe are the pioneers of drum and bass, and how the sound is in the country right now, because they're still doing drum and bass. You should listen to their track Purvayi, and so many of them.
Okay.
Which they've produced recently, but they came out with their music back in the day. One of the earliest tracks I remember was Fabric, which was a part of this movie, this Bollywood movie called as Monsoon Wedding.
Okay.
That was basically one track that I was introduced to very early when I was listening to drum and bass. That, and then eventually there was maybe a little. I was obviously too young to know how the scene progressed between it or during the mid 2000s, but towards the end of it, there was an agency called as Krunk, who were slowly bubbling up and who were big drum and bass enthusiasts. And they started the first one. I think one of the earliest memories I have with Krunk is when they got Dub Physics to the country. Okay. I think this was 2012, if I'm not wrong.
So this Krunk Collective, is it? The Krunk Collective.
It's just the Krunk. It's Krunk, and they have their. So they're
basically an agency. That brings out artists.
Right. Okay. That's right. Yeah, and they have a label now called as Krunk Culture, and they have some good some really good music that's coming out of the label. But Krunk and Sohail Arora, who runs the agency, he was instrumental in getting. So 2012 saw Dub Physics coming to the country. 2013 was London Electricity. Again, poof.
Nice.
Never imagined London Electricity would travel to India. Then came Alex Perez. But what really changed in terms of how...
I remember you telling me a quite funny story about an artist who was scared to fly.
Eric Pritz, yeah.
Eric Pritz. So obviously with his condition, so they had to pull some extra strings to bring him to India.
Right, yeah. That was the Supersonic Festival, yeah. And Supersonic Festival took birth in 2013, which the first edition was more of a trance and house lineup. 2014 is when it just changed totally. It had a full throttle drum and bass lineup. Nice. And Pawan Mukhi from Foreign Beggars, Shiva Sound System, guys like Nerm, Decode. These guys were so influential in bringing the sound or bringing the artists to the country. And
Nice.
I have to credit them for doing everything they have for bringing drum and bass to the country. And Nam was recently doing interviews with a lot of these a big drum and bass artists, so he knows the scene inside out. Pawan Mukhi, he has his own label called as Currency. He has his
Foreign currency.
There's
Foreign currency.
Yeah. And he has his new drum and bass label, or basically a label that pushes the drum and bass and the dubstep sounds, like basically anything between 140 to 170. And and that's called as dark mode.
Dark mode. I think he started that quite recently.
Very recently, It's been probably a month or a couple of months. Not more than that.
Is Pawan located in India right now? I feel as if he's in India right now. Is it?
I'm not too sure. He was here for quite some time, and I think he's. I'm not sure where he's operating from currently, but he was instrumental in getting the 2014 Supersonic VH1 Supersonic lineup.
Let's talk about the lineup.
Yes, the lineup was insane. I mean, I never imagined to have Goldie, Netsky, Upbeats, Mala, Brooks Brothers, Teddy Killers, Alex Perez, D-Bridge, Chimpo to be a part of a festival that is happening in India. It was my wildest dream coming true. It was that's how big it was, because I never thought that these guys would come to India. And there was also an after party which brought D-Bridge, Chimpo, Alex Perez together on a back-to-back set.
Nice.
And it was just mental. That time was absolutely mental. 2015, it just grew bigger. He just got Pawan Mukhi along with Nikhil Chanappa, who was the festival, who was the brainchild of the festival. They got together and brought some of the biggest artists in who you can think in drum and bass. And it was just a surreal feeling to have so many people from the drum and bass scene who are traveling here, playing here. And it was just surreal. And that's when I think Document One also came to India. There was Netsky, who came in 2017 again for a solo tour.
So he was solo touring in India.
Netsky, yes. So Netsky toured solo, in 2017. Kasra toured solo in 2017 again. And
that would have been nice.
Yeah, Skeptical did a solo tour as well.
Okay.
Then there was Chimpo. Chimpo had done probably a few shows here as well. So yeah, it was like a celebration. So that time from 2014 to 2018,
17,
I think
17,
was like a celebration of drum and bass in the country.
Nice.
Drum and bass India, who have been so influential in promoting drum and bass to the local crowd. They were doing their own stuff, and how they were promoting artists online and offline. So shout out to Drum and Bass India as well, because they've been excellent in what they've done in the country.
Very true.
Obviously, there's Krunk, who've constantly brought artists to the country. Like Ivy Lab came in 2018.
Whoa.
Ryder Shafiq was here. Then I can just like go on, because
you didn't tell me that Ivy Lab was on.
Ivy Lab. They were, and I just remember someone telling me the story roughly. They were playing in Delhi, and I'm not sure in Delhi, but I think it was probably either Delhi or Bangalore, and they got only probably some time to play. I think they got only half an hour or 45 minutes to play, but they absolutely just like brought the roof down, and people are like, "What just happened?" So that's one of the stories I remember. Kasra was here, and it was like a packed venue again. Netsky, I remember I was standing in one corner of the club, and I could see just like people raving on the other side, and I was happy because I'd never seen something like this happening in the country. That people, there's a drum and bass artist who is who's come here, and people are going absolutely wild. So I got my I got a friend with me as well who had never heard drum and bass, and that changed his life again. He never thought he would like drum and bass, because whenever I'd make him listen to drum and bass, it would be okay. It's okay. I don't really dig it. And then that night changed his life in terms of, you know, how he perceived drum and bass as well.
Because I feel as if people need to experience hearing drum and bass in big systems.
Exactly.
Because I was speaking to Grant, Mr. Porter yesterday as well from Goldfat, and he was telling me that that I need to listen to my songs being played on a big system, because that's going to change the entire perception, and that is going to add value for me as a producer as well, because then you understand the sonics and how the song sounds in a bigger system. And that is going to probably change my perception of drum and bass entirely, because it's a new world getting exposed to drum and bass in a huge system. So I'm yet to experience that, but hopefully, let's hope someday that a big artist might fly to India, then I'll be able to get into a flight and come rave with you guys. But yeah, so yeah, I understand what you're saying in terms of how your friend automatically changes perception after hearing drum and bass in a big system.
Absolutely. And how would you describe, how did the scene, you know, progress in terms of drum and bass? Because I remember you mentioning some things about how the scene progressed in Sri Lanka. You even introduced me to a song. Yeah.
So in terms of the progression of drum and bass as a genre per se, I would say that it's a relatively new genre to Sri Lanka, and obviously drum and bass being a genre that requires buying into. It's not everybody's cup, and there's obviously a curve that people has to follow to get into drum and bass properly. It doesn't just click for some of the people, obviously, but for us, I mean, it clicked. But then again, for some people, obviously, you need to buy your way inside the genre. So I feel as if Sri Lanka is in that stage right now, in terms of getting exposed to the genre. But in terms of a few of the commercial projects, I mean, I work with a producer called Charita from the region. So we he has released a couple of drum and bass tracks as well, and I worked with him quite for some time, and I've made a drum and bass track with him as well. That we co-produce. So obviously drum and bass is being used in certain conditions, so to speak. But then again, as a club option or genre that is being pursued in dance music, in dance floors, I feel as if drum and bass has a lot of catching up to do. I quite honestly don't see any enthusiasm behind any of the promoters in the scene either. So it's a little bit difficult for me to get something going on as well, because obviously me as an artist, I have a full-time job which I need to attend to, and then in the free time I just make drum and bass. So there's a lot of elements that need to be looked at, if at all that I can maybe start something in Sri Lanka. But in terms of the genre, I think people are noticing the genre, and people are slowly buying into it, but not in the speed that I would imagine them to. But there's enthusiasm. There's a few drum and bass heads here and there. In terms of production, though, I haven't seen producers being receptive to drum and bass as a genre that they would like to produce. I mean, I came across a couple of young producers that make a little bit of drum and bass and send me, "Oh, here, I just wanted to try it out. Check this out." So I beyond that, I don't see a huge enthusiasm of drum and bass to be produced as a genre, because obviously we have genres such as hip hop. Sinhala rap is huge in Sri Lanka. I mean, the native language-based rap music in Sri Lanka is pretty huge right now, and is pretty popular among the younger generations as well. So there's a lot of fighting for drum and bass to do to gather its place in and respect that it deserves. But it's picking up. obviously, and obviously with the traction that I've been receiving lately, there's a lot of attention to drum and bass from Sri Lanka. So I'm trying to see where I can make something happen as well. Maybe into the future, maybe I could organize a few gigs and see who turns up and carry it forward from there. But in terms of my gigging experience, I haven't played live really in Sri Lanka in terms of drum and bass, and the experience I had were a little bit negative as well. So it is what it is right now. I mean, I understand that music is pretty personal, and we can't force people to listen to it unless they're ready for it. So, but yeah, so that is kind of like the situation we have right now in Sri Lanka in terms of drum and bass. But I'm hoping to make something out and maybe introduce drum and bass in a commercial manner. I have a few plans into December, because obviously my release schedule is finished now, so I have time to focus on other ventures and make new music. So I'm trying to see if it's possible to get something going on maybe towards December or so. But yeah, I'm hopeful. So let's see how it goes. But yeah, so that's kind of like the story in terms of how drum and bass is perceived in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, and it would be so like how Asian Underground has progressed in the country, in India over here, and how amazing it would be, like the track that you had produced, Rahat Hami Buran, that you mentioned.
Yeah.
It's such a breathtaking track.
Yeah.
Like it would just be so amazing to have drum and bass fused with, just traditional Sri Lankan music.
Yeah,
like
obviously, yeah.
Because Asian Underground always is so exciting, and a part of it, if that comes, it'll just be so amazing. But yeah, I think I feel you. I totally feel you, because I know the amount of time it took for the genre to come here and to be in. To be considered as a full-blown genre. Yeah. It's to be honest, it's taken a solid beating here as well, because you don't see as many drum and bass gigs happening here anymore. It's just in bits and parts. Techno was the biggest genre and is the biggest genre, and I think will remain to be the biggest genre for a decent amount of time. In India,
I think I've seen a huge techno community in India as well, because obviously with the backing of promoters, some of the most amazing gigs I've seen in India, especially towards the Rajasthan area, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so we just have to keep on trying in terms of making the genre quite popular in the scene. So I feel as if we pretty much covered the history in terms of the introduction of drum and bass to obviously Bollywood and Hollywood, and then how drum and bass became a huge phenomena from 2014 till 2018, 2019, and the current scenario in terms of how drum and bass is perceived in India and in Sri Lanka. I feel as if this is a good opportunity for us to give some shout outs to some of the producers who are currently pretty active from the region. Obviously, I think we have quite a bit of names that we can maybe talk about.
Right, absolutely. So first of all, I am just so grateful that we have IYRE, who is on the global stage. It's just surreal to have someone from this part of the world being on the global stage, because it's just so inspirational. Following IYRE, there is Oxygen, who's had releases on Med School and Program, and Sound Avtar, who's had releases in the past, and he's also like slowly coming up with new music as well. So
I think he was making dubstep for quite some time as well. So he's making his transition towards the soulful side of drum and bass. So yeah, we'll be able to hear some of his music very soon.
There is Anand and Tanner.
Okay, so those guys are located in Delhi or Mumbai.
So Anand is located in. Tanner is a British producer.
Okay.
And Anand is from Delhi. So yeah, so that's how they become Anand and Tanner. Anand has his own techno or breakbeat alias, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, he does his techno. But he makes some incredible drum and bass as well.
Okay.
So there's Anand and Tanner who made some incredible drum and bass music.
Okay.
There is Seapoise who has his own radio show, who promotes drum and bass artists from the country.
Okay.
There is
Crash Comet.
That's how did I forget Crash? Crash Comet has had releases on Liquicity, at the recent compilation that came out. So
I was pretty pumped to see him on Liquicity, because I feel as if he deserves it, because he's an amazing producer, and I've been digging his music for quite some time. So props to Crash Comet for making some major moves. And I feel as if there's another guy called Young Raj.
Young Raj, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a part of Pawan Mukhi's Foreign Currents label as well, and he's been on Noisia Radio, which is a huge honor for our region. Seeing someone from India being on Young Raj, and obviously Karma Singh is another guy that we should.
Karma Singh is a producer.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So he has been on Cause for Concern as well, and he has been on Hospital Records podcast as well, and I think he has been played on Noisia Radio too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure about it, but I feel as if he mentioned about it to me. But obviously he's another prospect that we should look out for. Obviously, with the level of quality that exists in his music. I mean, his bass work is incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's Watashi as well, who champions the deep, intricate, and dark sounds of drum and bass. So yeah, he's been doing his stuff as well. So yeah, he's there. Then there's Smokey, who's relatively who's done some drum and bass tracks, but she's a phenomenal drum and bass DJ. She's slowly producing her music as well, so she's there as well.
Nice.
So there are Moscillator, now the biggest of all. Moscillator was a part of Punditz project, which is one of the biggest acts in the country. And Moscillator is his part of Moscillator is Mayur Narvekar, and I'm sorry, part of Punditz project is Mayur Narvekar, whose drum bass alias is Moscillator.
Okay,
and he is just phenomenal, to be honest. He focuses a lot on the neuro sound, and he's had he came out with an EP very recently, and he's been doing drum and bass for quite some time here, and he sees this guy who just does not worry about how people will perceive his music. He just goes for the full Monty because he loves making that stuff, and he's just incredible. So yeah, so Moscillator is one guy who's been doing some really cool stuff. There have been like a few producers here and there who've made drum and bass. The Harmony is one guy who's made one drum and bass track. There's an artist based in Mumbai called as Saya, who infused classical Indian elements with drum and bass, and his track did very well in the country as well. So so there are producers over here who are slowly bringing that sound up, and I'm just hoping that golden or the dream period that we had from 2014 to 2018, which I think was the best period when we experienced just a host of drum and bass artists. I just hope it comes back, because I mean, I don't have to explain how beautiful the genre is. It's just it just needs to get to more people. And wherever I get a chance, I try to talk about drum and bass. And the way I try to connect it is it's a very funny story that everyone tries to tell me. I know that if I take, let's be honest, if I take, for example, a neurofunk track, for example, if I take an Ed Rush track to a person who has not heard drum and bass in India, it'll be very difficult to convince him or her to like something like, because we know we love Ed Rush and Optical because we've heard this sound now. We are far deeper into the genre than others. But what I try to do is I try to make them listen to Nasha Experience, Midival, Punditz. So bringing that Indian connection just helps so much, and that's how I've been successful in bringing a lot of my friends or people who haven't heard drum bass into the genre, and now they actively listen to it. So so that's something I try to do a lot of bringing them together, but just giving them that connect, because unless you don't, because the genre is very difficult to get into in terms of get to the masses, to be honest. And this is the best way you can introduce them to drum and bass, because if you give them that connect, they will listen to it.
Yeah, I feel the same in terms of getting people to like drum and bass in Sri Lanka as well, because obviously, like I spoke to you about earlier, it's a genre that you need to get yourself adjusted in terms of how it's being perceived. But so like you told, it's pretty much the same here in Sri Lanka as well. I just need to figure out a way to feed the music into the minds of people as well. But I feel as if I'm in the perfect position right now, because obviously I'm making liquid drum and bass, and with all these techie and deep elements, it's not very upfront and upbeat like neuro. So there's space for people to experience it and digest it. And to see how they can make a connectivity of the drama of that song into their personal lives. So that's kind of what I have in mind as well. Obviously, into the next year to see how I can maybe contribute in terms of how this genre can be a little bit commercially successful. I don't like to use the word commercial per se, but I mean it has to.
That's exactly what is needed.
It has to reach the masses. Obviously, to make a scene out of it, because I mean, compared to the other countries, obviously in terms of population, we have a huge population in this area.
Absolutely.
So for any genre, there's going to be a standard, a considerable number of fan base for any genre, so to speak. I mean, I'm experienced. I'm exposed to the metal genre as well, so I know for a fact that metal music has a quite a following in India and in the region.
A huge following, yes.
A huge following, so to speak. So I feel as if it can be translated the same manner into a genre like drum and bass as well, because obviously most of the metalheads like to listen to drum and bass. So we just need to find a way to make a connectivity and make the people appreciate for what it is. But I feel as if things will be positive after this lockdown ends, and I hope that all the gigs that were happening in India would commence, and I would be gladly getting into flight and flying to India.
I would love to see you here, man.
Yeah, to see some of the gigs as well, because obviously I want to be a part of a drum and bass gig from the region. So I'm pretty hopeful for the genre in this region. So what else? Did we miss anything? I don't know. I'm just.
So talking about the commercial aspect that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So Ritviz, who's one of the biggest artists in the country, followed, and Nuclear as well, who are superstars here. And
I think Nuclear,
they have their own unique.
I think Nuclear is globally known for his sound.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they have come up with this album Bharat, which has a drum and bass track with its own pop elements. And so again, like we spoke, people don't know it's drum and bass, but it's going wild. It's already hit 1 million views, and it's on its way to hit 2 million now.
Yeah.
People are absolutely belting it everywhere in the country, but people don't know it's drum and bass. So the next goal is to probably tell people that it's drum and bass. That's exactly what I want to do now. That, oh, you've heard this track Sati from the album Bharat by Ritmus Nuclear. That is drum and bass. That's the music you like. I'll make you listen to some more. Come.
Yeah, so
that's going to be my goal. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully, I hope and pray that we'll be able to make the genre quite prominent in the scene, and I hope all the gigs will start commencing as well. I mean, I would love to connect with most of these guys who are making moves in the DMB community from the region, and I hope that we, myself and Sagar, we were able to shed some light in terms of how drum and bass is perceived as a genre in the region and how it was introduced to the region. People who took the forefront in terms of making the genre to what it is today. So I feel as if we spoke quite comprehensively in terms of discussing the introduction to drum and bass. And so with that, we're going to conclude our conversation about drum and bass from the South Asian region. And I hope we were able to shed some light to you. And I sincerely hope that you guys check out some of these artists that we were talking about. And I think I will be able to post a few links on the description as well. And with that being said, we would like to play you some music from the region. We selected, we handpicked a few tracks that we would like to play you for the next half an hour. So let's get into it and enjoy. Peace and love to you guys. Yes, people. Going to play you some tunes. Some of the tunes that I enjoy from the region. Let's dive into it. I'm going to give you a brief commentary as and when I play these songs as well. It's not going to be a set per se. Hope you saw me on the screen right there. It's not going to be a set per se. I'm just going to play a few tunes for about 20 or 15 to 20 minutes. Just gonna vibe and enjoy with you guys. So yeah, let's get on with it. This one's called 808 by Nasha Experience. Hope you guys enjoy.
Sick stuff right there. Shouts to Beeson. I'm gonna steal your words. Some of these tunes I'm hearing for the first time. Next up, a bad boy. It's called Pagol by Jayhaan. Here we go. This is one of the most absolutely beautiful tunes I've ever heard. from the region. It's called Purvayi, featuring Papon. This is Midival Punditz. It's so beautiful, I'm gonna cry.
सुन रे पुरवाई कहो देश तुझा बावरे नैना पीको देखन जी जाए जी जाए
This is by Barasingha featuring Shivacult. It's called Time and Again. Again. Such a beautiful tune. Sick stuff right here. some weird reason, Barasingha reminds me of our good friend Kublai. Kublai, this is your secret project. So beautiful, so elegant, so spacey, and filled with South Asian goodness. Just gonna speed things up here a little bit. That is called Super Naani by Tech Panda. Again, it's not even drum and bass, but I had to play it. This you may have heard before. This is called Gayatri by Etherwood. Super beautiful. Sweet stuff. Lucid Dreams by Sound Avtar. This just got released on Febo Afghanistan compilation. The first set of singles that were released today. If you want to copy this, you can head over to Bandcamp and get your hands on this. Big ups to Sound Avtar, all the way from India. You know what this is? Shameless self-plug. This is Zainab by myself, released on Goldfed. If you want to check this out, for sure you can. It's available everywhere. Huge shouts to brother man Winslow for having me in this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation and these few songs that I'm playing for you. Just wanted to shed some light to the South Asian region. If I missed anybody, I sincerely apologize. I'm learning as well. Maybe again in the future I can do something similar. Big up.